Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Happisburgh. Now, do you remember this?
I've had a really good, strong word with myself about being organised.
This time, I've come prepared. Here are my filters. Let's see what we get. Welcome to the episode. So welcome to Happisburgh. Happisburgh, you don't know it, it's kind of spelt Happisburgh, but this is a beach on North Norfolk, one of my favourite places. It's actually the place where I shot this. I'll put a picture on screen now. Now this picture is quite special to me, and it marks a very significant point in my photography career, because this managed to get into one of the Landscape of the Year award books. Can't remember which one, I'll put it up here somewhere. And it was in an exhibition which I was very proud of in the National Theatre in London. I took my parents to, and parents-in-law, and anybody else I could get along to come with me. But actually, so that particular picture, Happisburgh, where I am now, is 2 hours from where I live in Essex. So that meant, it was shot in April, and it was pretty much the last shoot. Actually, it was in May, and it was the last shoot I shot in on that particular season. It was shot with a brand new Canon 7D, if you remember those. And the shoot itself went quite well, but I left home, I was up at 2 in the morning and left home at the same, about 10 past 2. We got here for 10 past 4 for sunrise, which was at 5. So it was a mad dash up here, and a 2-hour drive. And I was promised, this is looking lovely by the way, I was promised clouds, but there weren't any. It was completely clear sky. But the tide was low. Now with Happisburgh, you have to have a low tide, otherwise you can't get on the beach, and you have to make sure you know what's happening with the tide, because you can get cut off. The tide's coming in and I can't get out that way. That means I'm going to have to either climb up the cliffs or keep very high for hours until the tide goes out, or swim. But yeah, so I got here at 4 in the morning, and in the end, the actual sunrise itself was a bit rubbish, but I managed to put the sun behind some of these posts and got some splashing going on, so I really liked the picture. But that picture, actually, because it did so well, actually scared me off from doing any photography. I decided that everything I had to take after that would have to be better, and of course it's not necessarily going to be. So I kind of stopped taking photographs. It was almost, another one there, it's almost as if I was too frightened to do anything else, because I didn't want to photograph something that was rubbish, if you see what I mean. And I kind of almost stopped. It was an odd thing, but I've got over that now, and Happisburgh is actually one of my very favourite places. Now today we are supposed to have a bit of rain shortly, but not a lot. You have to be very careful with raindrops. If you get anything blown onto the filters or the front of the lens, then that's going to ruin the shot. So I've got a cloth in my pocket somewhere. I've got 2 actually. I won't get them out because I thought they might fall out. I've got 2 cloths in my pocket just to keep the lens clean while I'm shooting this. And apart from that, it's just waiting for the light. Now sunrise is going to be in about 6 minutes time, and actually I don't think it's going to be a sunrise really. It's very overcast, but what is good about today, I'll show you on the camera, we've got some really dark rain clouds coming in over the top, and that suits the mood of this scene. And sometimes, you know, a nice misty pink magenta-y kind of sky here doesn't necessarily work. So the sky I had on that particular day back in 2012, I think it was, wasn't a particularly great sky for this particular scene. This sky today though is. So I'm going to move around the beach and do some shots. I'll put you over here somewhere so you can watch, and we'll do some kind of time lapse. But I think we're going to get some moody, cyany, dark bluey kind of images, which will actually suit this scene beautifully. Right, let's carry on with the photography, otherwise I'm going to end up not shooting anything.
Don't wait for me, honey. Don't wait. 'Cause I'm always heading your way. And I know exactly what I'm looking for.
So we're shooting here with, now this is looking good. So I've got this rock in the foreground here, which I'm focusing up on. We're f11. I'm at completely wide angle. I've got a wider angle lens in my bag, but this will probably do. Come back to fraction without getting wet. The tripod's really low to the ground because I want to get this foreground rock quite prominent. And I've got a grad on the top here just to pull the sky a little bit to darken it down, and that actually looks really nice. What I haven't got though is the ISO low enough. There we go. Lock that in. What I do like about the Fuji cameras, you can lock the dials at the top. So we've now got 6.5 seconds at f11. What I'm going to wait for is some of the waves to come round, which that long exposure is going to blur. I want to talk about subject actually. The subject of this picture really, the way I've got this composed, is this rock. So you have to emphasise that by tipping towards it. But obviously the rest of the scene complements that. This is where it's really nice in anything with a mountain, because you've got a really nice background. Whoop, I got wet feet. Now if you look at the histogram, that looks pretty much perfect. I'm going to go to the left as far as I can before that starts clipping. And there we go, that's what we need. What we don't need is wet feet. This shot actually looks quite good with quite a fast shutter speed as well. If you get some waves bashing onto these rocks, kind of freeze them, which you can see I've done before. Looks quite cool. Yeah. As you can see, I haven't brought my willies with me today, so I suppose I'm not totally prepared. That's nice. Still a bit dark, really. Check the front of the lens, everything looking good. Really like this composition. So the promised rain has come in, or once the weather forecast is correct. To be fair, it's normally not far off. If the winds pick up a little bit, then it can sometimes throw it out, but it did say a little bit of rain of 0.3 millimetres, which is hardly anything. And that's probably what we've got, to be fair. Kind of, so it's now sunrise really, but you can see just a hint of light above, but we're still getting quite a long exposure. Sort of 3 seconds, which actually doesn't particularly matter with this. What I need to get for Happisburgh really is a bit of a longer exposure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open the aperture to f8. It's about as comfortable as I feel with depth of field, and just crank the ISO up a little bit, because I want to get something around about an 1/8 or a 15th of a second, and that will allow me to, when the waves hit these sea defences and splash, It will allow me to kind of semi-freeze them. They won't be completely frozen, but I'll be able to see the sea spray, which I think always looks very effective here. So I'm going to have a little go at that in a second. All the while minding out for the rain and the sea. Obviously sea and sea spray is not the best thing for cameras and tripods and tripod legs, or trainers indeed, which I've got with me today. I kind of decided that I was going to get wet, and that's the way it went. But it's always worthwhile when we get home washing the tripod legs down, just to make sure that they don't get seized up. You can take them apart and put some Vaseline on them, on these three-legged things actually, and that just keeps them lubricated. But I normally take them apart and give them a wash. This scene though is looking really nice actually. I really like these dark, moody clouds, even though it's not particularly dark and moody. They look really, really good, and it's a fantastic place to photograph. Absolutely love Happisburgh. I really love how these posts here are going out, and this post here going across. That's a really nice composition. So many lovely compositions on this beach. Behind me I've got some clay sea wall, which looks lovely as well in certain light. So what a fantastic morning that's been. This is one of my favourite locations, Happisburgh. I love it. You can only get here, as I probably said earlier, at low tide. Otherwise you can't get on the beach. Now the tide is coming in, and obviously I need to get off the beach. You can see behind me these cliffs, which actually look lovely with some sunlight on them. They're really, really lovely. I think some of it's called London clay, so it's kind of a clay beach. I don't know, geologists out there might know, but you can see some of them, maybe some grasses at the top. And when we get a really high tide and a really rough sea, there's some of that gets eaten away and falls down. I mean, there used to be houses on top of some of these cliffs, and unfortunately they've fallen into the sea. I mean, amazing, these old pillboxes still around. They were up on top of the cliff years ago, and even though they've fallen down onto the beach, they're still going. They're still manly and still there. There's even one in the sea, which I'll show you in a second. But a lovely day to be out. I mean, it's a fairly early get up, but one of the good things about having another base up in Norfolk is that I haven't got to get up quite so ridiculously early. And this is somewhere I can visit quite a lot. It's a beautiful beach. These sea defences have seen better days, but I hope they never take them down, because they really are lovely for us as photographers. It's been a fairly moody start to the morning. Doesn't look like it's going to rain now, though it's supposed to. There may be some rain coming in, so I'm going to get off the beach before A, I get wet, and B, the tide comes in, and head back to the ranch. So thanks ever so much for tuning in again. Your support is always welcome. So until next episode next week, bye for now.
It's all in our hands, this life of time that's given to us all. It gathers round each night, each morn. We watch it pass and grow.